Hey guys, Mike here. So today's cult classic review is 1984's This Is Spinal Tap, starring Christopher Guest as Nigel Tufnell and Michael McKean as David St. Hubbins. In This Is Spinal Tap, one of England's loudest bands is chronicled by film director Martin de Burgh on what proves to be a fatal tour for the group. And so we have This Is Spinal Tap. So guys, this is a movie in the series before watching and reviewing it today. I had not seen it before, though I'd heard really good things about this over the years. Now when people think of the mockumentary format, they usually think of This Is Spinal Tap. Now I have no idea whether this film was the first mockumentary or even invented the mockumentary format, but nevertheless it is one of the most famous ones. But in any case, what did I think of This Is Spinal Tap? Well, going into this one, I didn't really know how they were going to really structure this film. I didn't know whether it was going to be a straight documentary format where the whole story is told through interviews and random clips of the band, or whether it was going to kind of do a half and half kind of thing where it does the documentary format whilst at the same time telling a traditional narrative. And as the film went on, it became very clear that they wanted to strike a balance between the two. And I would say they did a really good job of this. When it does the documentary format, you're always finding out interesting things about the band, as well as finding out hilarious things as well. And then when the movie's dealing with the more traditional narrative, you see each of the characters go through their own personal struggles trying to adjust to this new way of music, and also struggling with the fact that they might not be as popular as they once thought they were. Very early on, the movie establishes who Spinal Tap are. They establish how many albums they've had and how long they've been going for. But then it begs the question with Spinal Tap, is it more quantity over quality? But then as the movie progresses, you do kind of see that it might be an issue of more quantity than quality. Not to say that these guys are bad, because obviously they built up quite a unique fan base and they have quite a lot of good music. Music that I can easily see fitting into the rock and roll zeitgeist. And another thing I was uncertain of at the start of the film, whether this was going to be a straight paying homage to this band and telling everyone how awesome they are, or kind of shedding light on how ridiculous they are. And again, this was another element that This Is Spinal Tap balances perfectly. Because at the start, you see how talented they are as musicians and how much popularity they have. But then again, as the movie progresses, people in America just don't really seem to know who they are. And then as well, they just keep booking smaller and smaller venues. It might have been nice to see how popular they were in the UK, but obviously that's all implied. And as well, some of the stories they tell about their band are just absolutely insane. Like they tell this one story about one of their drummers just spontaneously combusting, and it's just, wait, what? He just exploded? And they make it the most nonchalant thing ever. They're just like, yeah, loads of people just explode every year. And it's just like, okay. But then easily, probably one of the most famous scenes in the whole entire movie is the Turn It to 11 scene. Now, again, I don't know if This Is Spinal Tap invented this phrase, but we all know the basic meaning of Turn It to 11. Basically it just means go higher than the highest. And the scene where they explain why their amps go to 11 just sums up the band perfectly. Basically, they don't care how they do it, they just want to rock louder and harder. And it's just the way this scene ends is just absolutely hilarious. And on the cult classic poster where I get these movies from, you have to scratch away the thing and then you see the logo or something related to the film. And I thought that it was going to be a dial going to 11, but instead it's Stonehenge. And I was thinking, wait, what's Stonehenge got to do with this? Do they go to Stonehenge? Like they go back from America all the way to England again? Or? And then when they mentioned Stonehenge, I was like, oh god, here we go. What's this going to be? One of them does this little mock-up of a Stonehenge model, but unfortunately, they get the dimensions just a little bit wrong. Instead of writing feet, he writes inches. So they get this little model of Stonehenge, and it's just literally can fit in your hand. It's about this big. So, what does an extreme hard rocking band do? Well, naturally, they use the model in their set and put some dwarves next to it to make it seem bigger. You know, usual stuff like that. And there were just so many scenes like this in This Is Spinal Tap. Just so many awkward stage moments that you just can't help but look at. And all of them are equal parts funny as they are cringy as well. And you know it would be much worse if you were in the audience having to watch it, or God forbid you're on the stage having to experience it as well. And that leads me on to the overall comedy of This Is Spinal Tap. Now I will say that This Is Spinal Tap throughout the whole film is very funny, though there are one or two jokes that aren't as funny as they probably hoped they would be. Don't get me wrong, it's not that any of the jokes in this film are particularly bad, it's just that some of them don't exactly get much of a laugh out of you. But again, that's not to say that This Is Spinal Tap doesn't have some absolutely hilarious scenes. And like I said, some of the more hilarious scenes are the Stonehenge scene or the Turn It to 11 scene. But really, probably one of the funniest things about This Is Spinal Tap is just their nonchalant, oblivious nature to pretty much everything that's happening. And it's just pretty much their overall approach to everything they do that's hilarious as well. And overall, This Is Spinal Tap finds a nice balance of being a documentary, rockumentary, mockumentary. So guys, would I consider This Is Spinal Tap a personal cult classic, and would I recommend that you guys should see it? You can easily see why This Is Spinal Tap has become an absolute cult classic. It's got great music, an engaging story, interesting characters, And overall, this is just a very entertaining film. Though as much as I did like this film, definitely more than I thought I wouldn't call this one a personal cult classic. Again, I can see why so many other people would call this one a personal cult classic to themselves, but for me personally, I just wouldn't give it that status. Because it is definitely a really good film, it's just not one that I have a personal attachment to. But as for whether or not you guys should see it, I would still definitely recommend that you guys should check this one out, because if you've never seen the mockumentary format, then This Is Spinal Tap is the perfect place to start. Because if you like good laughs and hard rocking, then This Is Spinal Tap is the film for you. Okay guys, that's my cult classic review of This Is Spinal Tap. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever you think, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!